going to be recording these two presentations. So first up, we're going to have Sam Lewandowski from Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative, and then we're going to have Cameron Ford from Headrest. And after Sam presents, we'll have an opportunity for questions, and then again after Cam presents, an opportunity for questions. Okay, so Sam, you can take it away. I think you have slides to share. Is that
yes.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Let us know if you're having trouble sharing.
I think I have it.
Perfect.
You see that all right? Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much again for having me today and allowing me the opportunity to kind of provide some updates on Recovery Friendly Workplace. I'm guessing a lot of people in the room have some kind of familiarity with it. Some of you maybe have not really heard of us yet. So what I'm going to do today is provide just kind of a refresher on the initiative and then give you some updates in terms of where we're at and kind of what we've been up to this past 1 to 2 years. Some of the ways we pivoted during COVID-19 and how we're always kind of evolving to meet the needs of our workplaces. And like it was just mentioned, we'll then have some time for questions at the end. So I wanted to kick things off with this new video that we have, which is really exciting because it's one of several different assets that was built out to kind of help with our marketing, promotion, recruitment, but even beyond that, just to kind of get the word and message out about Recovery Friendly Workplace being there for New Hampshire communities, employers, and employees. So I think this video provides a nice overview. It's just about 4 minutes long, so we'll start things off with this. Whoops, clicked something and I cut this off. Let's see.
Any place where people are suffering because they or someone they love is under the weight of substance use needs a collective understanding that people all struggle with different sorts of things. As an employer, it makes sense to offer this. The easiest way to define recovery-friendly workplace is a workplace in which you understand that if you or someone you love is struggling with a substance use disorder, that there's a way for you to be able to speak up safely about that. One of the things I'm very proud of is how we have put our team members first. For me, RFW came in and they put their arms around us and they said, okay, you're doing a lot of bits and pieces of this, but let's just sort of collect it all together.
My name's Katie Easterly Marte. I'm the Executive Director of the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority. CDFA's mission is to advance community development, economic development, and clean energy initiatives through public-private partnerships. We serve all of New Hampshire, and we look to advance the betterment of communities by investing state, federal, and private resources into important projects. Substance use has had a significant impact on New Hampshire's economy. Specifically, $2.36 billion is lost annually in our economy. The majority of the costs, $1.6 billion, are incurred by businesses across New Hampshire. The Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative was created by Governor Sununu. He had a vision for how to support individuals in recovery. CDFA was really excited because it aligns so well with our mission.
We started by recruiting early adopter businesses that had been doing significant work on wellness in the workplace. Since that time, we have engaged over 270 New Hampshire businesses, representing over 70,000 employees.
My name is Kevin Thompson. My recovery journey started about 12 years ago. That's when I realized I had a problem with alcohol. It's something in the past for myself that I felt I, have not been able to be honest about with my employer for fear that I'm going to be treated differently, or I'm not going to get a job, or I'm not going to get a promotion. And I think a lot of people in my situation feel the same way.
10-Foot is a Canadian-owned company that's been in the outdoor footwear business since 1898. When I had an employee in the late 2000s that I fired for reporting to work under the influence of alcohol several times. Tragically, she never stopped drinking and passed away from liver failure within 6 months of losing her job. I heard about the RFW through the North Country Health Consortium here in Littleton. They were hosting an orientation and invited several local employers. I enthusiastically supported the initiative from the moment of that orientation when it opened my eyes to the fact that I could help employees with SUDs Since we became a recovery-friendly workplace, we've had 5 employees come forward with an SUD who we've helped get into recovery and continue to help them stay in recovery.
Myself and one of my coworkers have volunteered at GenFoot to be on what they call their Helping Hands Committee. Another employee does not have to necessarily go to the plant manager when they're seeking help. They can come to us. They can come to another employee. I want to have my hand out when people need it, just like other people had their hand out when I needed it. GenFoot supports that and encourages that, and I just think that's amazing.
We really feel that the Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative is a model that should be replicated nationwide. It's the first of its type of strategy that really engages businesses in addressing issues related to addiction. So ensuring that workplaces are able to be part of the solution is really important.
So that was that video, and we're so grateful to the Community Development and Finance Authority for providing the funding that made that video possible. We worked with a firm called Matter Communications, and obviously the employers just crushed it. They were so well spoken and shared such powerful stories. So just to kind of break down a few things about how we support our recovery-friendly workplaces. So first of all, we provide a really customized approach. We know that a mom and pop shop is probably going to have different needs than a very large manufacturer. So we found that that's been really key to our success. We also connect businesses to statewide and local resources. So everything from, 211 in the doorway to their local public health network. Sometimes areas have built out resources in addition to 211 in the doorway. So for example, in the North Country, they have Ask Petra. So we try to do a nice job partnering with those local resources so we can just really provide wraparound supports for the business and a comprehensive array of things to draw upon. We curate tools and materials for each workplace. Internally, we have our own database of resources that we're constantly vetting and adding to. And so as we move along our work with each workplace, we're pulling the items out of there that best fit their needs and what they're telling us they want to work on. We provide support for employees, those who've been indirectly impacted by substance use disorder, and oftentimes the support is also extending to the loved ones of employees. We provide an array of no-cost trainings on a variety of topics related to substance use disorder, behavioral health, recovery, touching a little bit on wellness, well, touching a lot on wellness, and then a bit on mental health. We are able to share examples of policies and also some resources around that if employers are looking to do more in that arena. We don't really write policies or get way into the weeds on that, but we definitely can refer to some tools to help them with that. We provide connections to peers. So for example, if I have a construction company sign on and they're feeling kind of new to this work and like they're wanting some support, I could pull different peers around the state for them to connect with. So that's been very powerful. Sometimes our workplaces want to form committees. Sometimes they want to do surveys. So we're able to kind of have some conversation around that and provide support around those items. Sometimes our workplaces are interested in hiring people in recovery. And so we have some really good connections to the different workforce development programs in the state. We also have a workforce development guide, which is really nice and handy. And so we're happy to facilitate those connections as well. And then really what we do is just provide ongoing dialogue and structure around this topic. And so I think sometimes workplaces really want to take this on, but if it weren't maybe for having a little bit of that extra support, they might kind of stall out or hit a roadblock and then stop progressing along their continuum of culture change. And so we're just here to really remove barriers and be an ongoing resource for them. In terms of the structure, some of you might be familiar with our checklist. So this is what each of our workplaces needs to do to become designated as a recovery-friendly workplace and then to maintain that designation. And so it's really more than just checking a box. We've really designed this with thinking about the kinds of outcomes that we're wanting to see in mind. And so this checklist is designed to kind of help bring those things to fruition. So for their initial required components, they're submitting a letter of interest online. So if you go to recoveryfriendlyworkplace.com, you select join us, you can then submit that letter of interest form. And really it's just about a 10-question form that pings us to get the workplace assigned to one of our recovery friendly advisors, who will then go on to work one-on-one with that business. We like to provide an orientation for human resources and senior management, just to kind of let them know what the program entails, make sure we're all on the same page, and start getting a sense of the level of stigma at their workplace and the kinds of things that they want to work on. The next step is that they do a declaration. That's a written statement to employees saying that they're participating in the initiative and talking about what that means for them. Some workplaces keep this kind of simple. Some workplaces take a while and really customize it. We see stigma really being challenged with this declaration, so it's a really important step in the process. After that, they can get their initial recovery friendly workplace designation, after which point they have a year to do this middle section of the checklist, which is here in the actual form. So that looks like disseminating information and resources, getting connected to their local recovery community organization. Oftentimes we're bringing the public health network into the orientation process or getting them connected at some point. And then doing some kind of education and training. We also ask that they review the policies that they have with their employees on an annual basis around alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Optional components include creating an RFW committee, participating in community-based activities, and just kind of working with their recovery-friendly advisor to meet any customized needs that they might have. In terms of some updates over the past 1 to 2 years, so we've had some staffing changes. So I was promoted to be the assistant director for my role as recovery friendly advisor, which is a huge honor. And then we're so excited to have our 2 new recovery friendly advisors who are on the call with us today. And then of course we have our, what we're calling now our veteran recovery friendly advisors, Jeannie Venuti and Karen Morton Clark. We were able to take on some significant projects with CARES Act funding. So we're actually working on finalizing a learning management system that will host a wide array of our training. So essentially we kind of put them into an online self-paced format. We pulled in adult learning theory for that and broke each module into chunks. They also have pre and post tests so we can kind of gauge their efficacy. So that's really exciting. And again, that should be ready, I would say, in 1 to 2 months in final form. We conducted a virtual business panel. So one of the trainings that we've done in the past is where we bring different business leaders together to talk about their recovery friendly workplace journeys with an emphasis on policy, because we get questions around that quite a bit, and who better to learn from than peers. And with the CARES Act funding, we're actually able to, in a socially distanced way, bring together 4 different business leaders and have the panel professionally filmed. And now that's an asset that will live on for our workplaces. So that's really nice. We've built out an array of additional assets, like I said, around marketing, recruitment, and also for our recovery friendly workplaces to help them not only get the word out, but really crystallize their messaging around the initiative. We are also able to award funding to some additional recovery community organizations to provide remote and digital supports during COVID. Some more updates. So really these past 1 to 2 years, we've been focused on meeting the ever evolving needs of workplaces, which you can imagine was more important than ever before with COVID. So we had to make a lot of pivots as we very rapidly moved to an all remote format. So we did like a 9-week virtual training series. We had both staff presenting at that and also had some guest presenters, including SOS Recovery, NAMI New Hampshire, and we had the DEA actually did a session for us as well. We were very active in promoting virtual support through our social media channels, through email blasts. We actually created a spreadsheet that compiled all of New Hampshire's recovery meetings being offered through recovery community organizations. So that was kind of cool to be able to do that. We did a training in, I think it was January or February of this year, around supporting your employees' financial health, teamed up with Granite United Way, which is now our employer actually, to do that. So that was cool to kind of branch out. And we did tie that to substance use disorder as well, and how those can kind of interplay financial health and financial health being kind of a pillar of recovery in a way. We have had some increased dialogue around mental health. I mentioned the partnership with NAMI New Hampshire. We're also doing a pilot and partnering with the Dover Mental Health Alliance. So they have a process that they kind of modeled off of Recovery Friendly Workplace, where workplaces can do things like participate in a mental health first aid training, do a few other things, and become designated as a judgment-free, safe place. That's what they're calling one of their designations. And so we've been kind of tag teaming a lot of different outreach and presentations. So that's been really great. And then it's great to have Cameron Ford on the call with us. We did not plan this. I didn't know he was going to even be on today, but we've also been working really closely with Headrest on their Recovery Friendly Workplace Employee Assistance Resource Program, which provides workplaces with no cost access to a LADAC. We've been very fortunate to work with actually an MLADAC throughout the pilot program. We're serving about 11 workplaces, and with the CARES Act funding, we were able to build out additional materials to help just get the word out and continue engaging employees around this pilot program. I just wanted to show you an updated training menu. We started off with our Legacy 6 trainings is what we called them. We then had 4 additional trainings built out with funding from the Community Development Finance Authority. And now this menu kind of brings it all together and shows what we can offer in person or online in that self-paced format, or a series of new content that we had developed. So I probably don't have time to go into all of these right now, but just wanted to draw your attention to some new content that we have, identifying and supporting employees with substance use concerns. We have a diversity, equity, and inclusion for New Hampshire workplaces module that was developed by a consultant based out of New Hampshire, so that was exciting. We have a variety of testimonials. And then this module is currently in development and forthcoming, how to support a loved one with SUD and keep taking care of yourself in the process. I'm right at about my 15 minutes, and the goal was to leave about 5 minutes for questions. So here is the contact information for myself. We invite you to connect with us on social. We're pretty active on our Facebook and trying to do more with our LinkedIn. I relate to having the budding YouTube channel because we just launched our YouTube channel officially this week, and have the video that I played for you all today is up there. Again, if you want to refer somebody to become a Recovery Friendly Workplace, if you want to learn more, I really recommend our website, recoveryfriendlyworkplace.com. Again, to submit that letter of interest, you would just go to the Join Us tab, and we are, of course, happy to answer any questions people might have. Now, if I can just figure out how to stop my share. Stop sharing. There we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam. That was really great. Does anyone have any questions for Sam? Feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand.
I have a question. Sam, you talked about, and this is kind of aside from all the material presented, I think you said that the people that did the work on the video and all that was Matter Communications. Was
Yep.
it from the Boston office or Newburyport?
Yeah, I believe they're based out of Newburyport, but they also have a location. They're based out of Massachusetts, I think, but they do have a location in Newburyport, which is where we filmed the virtual business panel.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I'm just curious because my youngest son works for Matter Communications, and he actually works mostly out of the downtown office, but they send him up to Newburyport frequently. He's a videographer and he does editing and all that kind of stuff. So they do excellent video. It's unbelievable what they do down there. So that's really terrific that you were able to use those guys, because they're superb.
Is his name Jesse?
Yes, that's my son.
I worked with Jesse. He was fantastic. I really appreciated his calming energy.
He's very detailed oriented, and he doesn't get ruffled. And but the place is he's worked there about 3 or 4 years, and since COVID started, they've been trying to do their work and shoot videos, and they've been very clever because they've actually put together a video package inside of a giant Pelican case, and they ship it to a company in San Francisco, say, and they lay it all out on the table, and then they go online and they literally use online servos to direct interviews and get all the 8K video that they need, and then they upload it and edit it, and they can still do it with the help of somebody on the ground there to make it really simple. It's like a kit. So some of the stuff that they've done this past year, in addition, they do a lot of animation now too, is I'm not a video guy, but man, the stuff that they produce is, if you got nothing to do any day, go to the Matter Communications website and just watch the stuff. It's really spectacular. Okay, no more proud parent stuff. Okay.
That's so cute. Yeah, we are very pleased with how that video turned out.
Yeah, great, excellent.
Any other questions, Em?
Sam, I have a quick question for you. In doing a quick Google search, I didn't see anything so specific to recovery workplaces here in Vermont. Do you have a counterpart in Vermont, or are you interested in coming over slightly to the other side of the river? I know we are always in that fishbowl here in the Upper Valley, but thoughts?
Yeah, so I think one thing we're working on currently is outreach to other states to see what is existing. I think we've had some communication with Vermont, and sometimes what happens is that a state might be doing more with like the workforce development piece, like linking people in recovery to workplaces. I would have to pull our internal spreadsheet to see what we found about Vermont, but I do recall that or I'm not recalling that they had like an exact recovery friendly workplace counterpart that was more geared towards that business experience. What we usually tell people is that if they have a New Hampshire location, we're happy to then kind of branch out and do the designation process as long as people are okay with being, designated by the New Hampshire governor. And I think in the future, we want to build out a little bit more of a process around potentially consulting with other states in case people wanted to get their own program up and running. As it stands, we're very happy to share materials. It's kind of been a matter of capacity for us, but we're always happy to have the conversation and network around it and provide any guidance that we can. I wish we could help anybody who wanted, any business around the country who wanted to become a recovery friendly workplace. There definitely is power though in the model of having recovery friendly workplace in the state and then really get connected to the local resources. I think it really provides for the best experience, but hopefully Vermont will adopt something at some point. I would love to see that. Any other questions? No. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Pleasure to be here with you today. And don't hesitate to reach out if you think of any other questions.
Thank you, Sam. All right. All right, next we're going to have Cameron Ford from Headrest tell us a little bit about their work with recovery-friendly workplaces, and we'll take questions after Cam as well. All right.
Thank you, Lauren. And it's a pleasure to be here. And Sam's a tough act to follow, so I'll do my best. As part of the Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative, we became one of the early adopters and was very excited to do that. And exciting because Headrest is a treatment facility. And we have a 14-bed low intensity residential facility. We have our outpatient and our intensive outpatient programs over on the Alice Peck Day campus. We also have a very robust vocational program that helps people who are in recovery, who are in our programs, both outpatient and our residential programs, to find career ladder living wage jobs. And the success of that, which is, to me, we're really excited about, because since COVID started just last year, Lori Bartlett, who is our vocational specialist, placed 58 people into jobs. And of those jobs, folks who stayed within 90 days, the wage gain rate for that was the average in 90 days was $7,000. So that's pretty significant from folks who are, basically coming into us either totally unemployed or underemployed. And so we help them, reach those goals where when they leave us, they can be somewhat self-sufficient, which has been a real help to the Lebanon community, because a lot of the times before we started this, folks would leave our program and then immediately have to go to the city for resources, for rent assistance or whatever. And now they don't have to do that. And that's, obviously we hear that good things about that from the city, but they also help support us and support the program, the vocational program. So along with that, after us becoming the early adopters, we were able to engage our other employers that we're working with, and every employer that Lori talks to, she shares information about the recovery-friendly workplace. Many of those who have reached out and have become recovery-friendly workplaces. And that partnership has been tremendous because it helps us, get the foot in the door for employers who are seeking any type of help around this. Because unlike 2 or 3 years ago, where employers kind of maybe turned a blind eye to it or didn't want to know about it, and they would only deal with their employees when when they were caught under the influence or something like that, as Mark Bonta had pointed out, that they would fire them. So it was like a zero tolerance. With this initiative, it's allowing to break down the walls, stigma, and also giving the opportunity to have discussions around it, and we do. Another thing that's has happened from all this is we have received a grant from the CDFA, which we're totally thankful for and we're excited about, to reach out to employers, and our goal was 11, and we're there, to provide them with an opportunity to sort of try out a pilot project where we have a LADAC, in our case, an MLADAC right now, on site, can be on site, but it's also another result of COVID was, going virtual has helped us in this initiative too, by being able to be available to their employees or their employees' loved ones who are experiencing it. Many employees may have struggles at home with a child or a spouse or something who's struggling with substance use disorders. We're able to help them through this project. So an employee may approach their employer or through this project, as you see, is they can just reach out to us and we can start communicating with that person to try and help them get to the appropriate level of care that they might need. And so our LADAC is available 3 to 4 hours per week. When we initially started, it was totally on site, and it'd be available. The employer would provide us with an office space to meet confidentially with a person. And now both virtually or phone call. And, we're working with these employers to help them. Now, a lot of the employers have EAP, employee assistance programs, and we work with those folks also. But what this allows is for a much quicker intervention and to help folks get to a place where they need to very quickly and confidentially. In this project, we don't share the information with the employer. So the employee does not feel like, everyone's going to know. It's an ability for them to reach out and just get help, which is what the employer wants. We do provide the employer with sort of numbers of how many people reached out to us and what was the result of that referral or whatever takes place. It could be a mental health issue. It could be substance use disorders, but basically give someone the opportunity to talk to someone and that they can trust. And in terms of the businesses, we mentioned 11 of them. Some of them are on that video, and we're very excited about that. We have an employer in Lisbon, DCI Furniture, Mark Bonter's program now, with Genfoot, Grapponi, the Waypoint, which used to be Child and Family Services, and other treatment facilities, which is interesting because in the treatment facilities, a lot of the staff who are there are in recovery. And so this gives them an opportunity to not necessarily have to talk about their own struggles within their own company, but it gives them the opportunity to reach out and seek help that way. So it's been very successful. We haven't had an overabundance of calls, but it seems to be picking up as the word gets out and people understand that they can trust the process. The goal of the project itself, which the funding will be ending this June, we are looking for, and the employers understand this, that when the funding ends, they will have the opportunity to invest in the program through a fee-for-service model where they can sort of purchase our time through a contract and continue this project ongoing. And the benefit of that is where you might think of hiring a LADAC for your company, this will be a lot more cost effective because you're not paying someone full time. So that's where we're going, and we certainly have the expressed interest of it. Some of the employers, you mentioned the Vermont issue, and I hope to address some of this. As long as the employer is based in New Hampshire, if they have facilities on the other side of the river, we can serve them. So, for instance, Jake's Market is one of our programs, and they have 11 facilities, and some of them are over the border. We're going to be serving them. So that's something to keep in mind. We do hope that something like this happens again because we have, we work with a lot of employers who are over the border too. And unfortunately, for this project, we're not able to meet them. But once the model's established, we can certainly reach out to employers and do it through that way, and they can pay us directly. So that's how it's working. I can tell you some sort of anecdotal stories of folks who we recently had a person in one business who called and was working on her sobriety and trying to really reach out for help, and struggled tremendously with coming to work every day and her life in general. So she called Clarice, who's our MLADAC, and talked to her for 3 or 4 times. And then she decided that at the moment, it's probably safer for her to step back from her work and take some time off. She did that with the employer's knowledge, and through our connection, she was able to go back to work, after a certain amount of time, but had in the meantime had connected with a counseling opportunity, and she's doing very well. Another person was actually the spouse of an employee and spent several times on the phone with Clarice, was very reluctant because of past history with counselors. Clarice was able to sort of walk her through stages and connect her with a counselor that was very effective. So those are the types of things that happen. Clarice doesn't necessarily provide, the counseling piece, but helps get the person to the correct treatment opportunity, whether it's mental health or whether it's substance use disorders. So that's the type of thing. We've had other places as far as Manchester, where some employees have called us and wanted to work through the program. They're very appreciative that it's something that's confidential from the employer, and also a lot of folks are reluctant to reach out to their EAP programs because most of those are in fact reported in some level to the employer. So I think that's sort of the major piece of it, is that people can feel comfortable in reaching out to and with total confidentiality, and get the help they need and not fear that their job is in jeopardy. So that's really, it's that simple a process, and it's that simple a program. that we feel can be a game changer in a lot of businesses. So, and that's short, but I will take questions.
Thank you, Cam. Anyone have questions?
Okay. If anyone's interested in any of the materials, please feel free to reach out at my email. We do have collateral material that Sam and I and our development director worked on to create that would have it's a direct link that employers place in their place of business, whether it's on their own website. We have tear off pieces that they can hang up in the restrooms or in lunchrooms, things like that. And it just says, if you need assistance, call this number. It doesn't say contact your employer. It just says, call this number. And that's where we get a lot of our calls from, directly from that.